Just before we start this episode, I want to say that there are some references to suicide, domestic abuse, trauma, and mental health issues. So if that will affect you, I advise not to listen to this episode. But if not, enjoy.
Listen to me, you're bad. You're actually shit. You just don't know. Shh, baby. Shh. Holy fucking shit. I'm 7 years old. I just got to this fucking planet. I was like, you know what? Fuck society. Fuck the rules. I'm just gonna do whatever brings me the most fun. I wanted to start like a sausage business. I had like an investor and everything. I'm just gonna like make money with my body. Basically, to have that freedom is an awesome thing that you can be like, no, fuck this. This is shit. Listen to me, you're bad.
Hello and welcome back to the Meta Life podcast. My name is Tate and today we have our last episode with Kristina von der Heit. It's a sad day, but we'll be hearing more from her in the future, and we've got a friend of hers coming on the podcast very soon. Thank you so much for the support on the Instagram. We've been getting a lot of rapid growth and a lot of lovely comments, and it's making me very happy. So thank you very much for that. In this episode, you get to listen to the end of our conversation and some really interesting things that Kristina used to improve her life when she was a kid and when she was going through really tough times. She has lots of strategies, lots of thought processes, and if you're lost at all, this is the episode for you. She will help you program your brain, break down barriers with other people, connect, and last episode we ended off talking about shame and embarrassment. And I think this is something that's affected me a lot in my life. I've always been embarrassed to get up in front of people, as most people are. But then I've also been embarrassed to dance. Dancing has been one of my biggest insecurities throughout my whole life. And it's not that I'm overly terrible at it. It just is in my mind for some reason a really embarrassing thing for me to do. So talking to Kristina about this helped me open up a lot, and it has instantly helped me in a couple of my relationships. And it's this type of vulnerability that you break down all those barriers and walls of taboo topics. So listen to what Kristina has to say, and thank you for being here.
But I think that's also the biggest path to freedom you can have, is to be okay with being stupid, to be okay with shame. I think the biggest fear of most people is to do something or experience something that causes shame or embarrassment. And I think that's what I learned very early because of being bullied, that it's actually okay. You will survive it. It's not that bad. And that kind of gives you so much freedom, because if you're not afraid to embarrass yourself, you can literally go on a stage, completely black out, have no idea what you're saying, and still have a lot of good time and not give a shit, because you're like, I'm human, you're human, like, it's fine. And that is pretty awesome. Also, shame. I can openly talk about so many things that most people can't talk about because they're ashamed to do so. And that kind of gives you the ability to also be vulnerable. But there's the other side of it, of course, that I also had to learn not to overshare. Because just because you can doesn't mean you have to, and just because you can doesn't mean you have to share everything with everyone, like up on first meeting them. Although I do like people who do that. Like I think that's also like an ADHD and autism thing, that like people will meet, then they will basically trauma dump, and then we're like, we're best friends now. Like we've shared like our most horrible things that happened to us, and great, awesome.
That's what I do. That I overshare every time I talk to someone new, just because I want to like just break down all the barriers instantly. And
yes, exactly. I think that's the intention behind it. Like you basically dump all of your current obsessions, your trauma, everything that happened to you all at once, because if people are okay with it, then you're kind of like, okay, we match, great. Which kind of makes sense, because there's no point in hiding. They will find out sooner or later. So it's definitely better if it's sooner, because it also kind of like, it's easier to be rejected in the beginning. It's a lot harder if you've been friends for like 2 years and then they find out you have some mental illness, and then they're kind of like, we can't be friends anymore. And then it feels really hard because you're like, okay, maybe I should not hit this microphone. Sorry, it's where my heart is, so. But yeah. Yeah, you feel that pain in your chest and it hurts. But in the beginning, you don't know that person. You're not attached to them. So if you get it out there in the beginning and they don't match and they can't handle it, then you just move on. It's a lot easier. So I think that's why a lot of people do it. And I like it when they do it, because I like people who share without actually you having to ask them. I already forgot how the other people are. But yeah, the people who don't share, who like, you know, only share when asked.
Listeners?
No, they don't listen either. Well, they can listen sometimes, but like most of the time they're only waiting for you to actually ask them questions before they share. They don't share by themselves. Makes sense, because it is vulnerable, like, to share stuff, because you are vulnerable while you're sharing things. And you also might share something that the other person doesn't like, so it's not the best protection mechanism.
And so
But
why do you think you like people that do it, not overshare, but become vulnerable quickly? Like, what's like the subconscious thing behind that?
I think I'm trusting more. Like, it builds trust very quickly, because like we both now know things about each other that we could hurt each other with. Not that that's the point, but it's kind of like it's building trust very quickly. It also builds a deeper connection than if you just have like shallow conversations, because if you talk about the weather and I don't know what's on TV, you don't actually know anything about that person. It's like very, very shallow. But if you go really deep very fast, then you know a lot, and then you have a lot to build on, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I know several interests of that person. I know what kind of trauma they went through. So now I know how to behave. I can understand them better if something goes sideways. If they, I don't know, suddenly cry, or if they, you know, have like an anger episode or whatever, you can understand them more, because you kind of know what they're coming from. You know what happened to them, so you know what triggers them. I find that is just super helpful. And also, if you ask people questions, you don't always come up with good questions to actually get to the stuff you want to know. And then there's also the thing, you don't know what you want to know. For example, if people don't share openly by themselves without you having to ask them, there might be a whole world behind this facade that you will never know about, because you didn't ask the right question. So you will never get there. You will never find out that they, for example, like, I don't know, yellow little flowers, that it's their obsession, that they make tinctures and take photography, you know, like you will never find that out. Why? Because you didn't ask about flowers and they didn't share it with you. But people who share their passions are awesome, because they show you things that you would have never even asked about, because you just didn't know. It's the same thing like with trauma. You would never ask like, oh, so what kind of traumas do you have? Like, did you get abused as a child? And then there's also like the awareness factor, because people can only share what they're aware of. And not everyone is aware of like all the stuff that happened to them, because I believe everyone has trauma in some form, in some degree. And not everyone is aware of that they have trauma. And only when you talk about it that they have those realizations is, oh, so my parents punching me actually caused trauma? Oh, like that car accident actually gave me PTSD? Oh, so that's what it is, you know? And not everyone's aware of it. So, yeah.
I've noticed this in a lot of my relationships. Before I got my mental health issues, I just assumed that everyone else had it all intact and they didn't really face any problems in day-to-day life. And then once I did get all my problems and I started talking to people about it and they started trying to help me, I then flipped it around and started asking them how they were going. And you start to find out that there is so much that people won't just openly tell you unless you probe and, in a respectful way, you try and find out what they've got going on. One question leads to another, and eventually you find out that they're actually really insecure as well, Even as Kristina mentioned, they could have events or habits in their life that are really damaging them. And this is one way to find out about those and bring them to light and improve both of your lives, not just relationships. Sometimes, however, we don't have someone to talk to and someone to ask us those questions that do prompt those further ideas and help us dig deeper into ourselves. And so when you do face that roadblock, face that dead end, you can turn to solo strategies such as self-help books or YouTube or social media accounts. And so I was really lucky in the fact that I found a lot of philosophy things on YouTube and even more on Instagram, where I would just dive down a rabbit hole and it changed my life. Kristina, however, found a self-help book when she was just a child and it changed her life. She learned how to reprogram her brain and learned how to love herself for who she was, even in the toughest of times.
I just by accident discovered a book, like my first self-help book when I was 11. And it was the first thing that showed me like, oh, I don't actually have to be what people say I am, and I actually don't need to be sad and depressed. I can actually change myself, and I can change how my brain is wired and my neural pathways, and I can build new connections between synapses, and I can reprogram my brain through, and there's so many words for it, like affirmations, or they call it autosuggestion, or they call it self-hypnosis. Like there's so many different books about it, and they're all basically saying the same. If you repeat something long enough, your subconscious will take it over. So the same way, like our inner voice is usually what we experience in the first couple years of our lives, because we just soak up everything, and that, like the criticism from our parents and also the loving words of our parents and all of the people around us, will become our inner voice. And if the people around you were not nice to you, and they were like saying, oh, you're lazy and you're shitty and you're worth nothing and you will never amount to anything and all of that, if that accumulates, then that becomes your inner voice, and that is shit, because your inner voice then sucks and then helps you to become depressed, literally, because it will constantly put you down. But if you reprogram it by, for example, I don't know, recording yourself talking to yourself, being like, I'm lovable, I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'm creative, I'm smart, I can learn everything is figure outable, like if you record that and then listen to it while you're sleeping, because like the thing is, especially in the beginning, you are in complete resistance to it. You feel like you're lying to yourself, and you don't know if it's actually true, if you can even have those things, because I cannot tell you if I already had the good stuff in me and just no one saw it, or if I just literally did not have it at that time and it evolved through that autosuggestion or self-hypnosis affirmation process. But I continued to do it, and I listened to it while I was sleeping, because if you're sleeping, your conscious brain doesn't have any resistance, and it's like, can't be like, oh, this is bullshit. So it kind of just soaks it all in. And I did that for years. I did that for like until I was like 14, 15, every night, kind of like, okay, I missed some nights, of course, but holidays and stuff.
That's so impressive. Wow.
But a lot. And that helped me to, and I think I was really lucky, because since then I always had this nice voice in my head to balance out the other ones. And the other ones also have become less, and are basically like a baby whisperer somewhere in the back that's kind of like, listen to me, you're bad. But it's it's like, you're actually shit, you just don't know. And I'm like, shh, baby, shh.
Shut up, baby.
Yeah. And then and I had this like really beautiful voice. I remember like my first heartbreak, and I felt so terrible, and this beautiful voice inside my head would be like, hey, it's gonna be okay, you're gonna be fine, you're dealing wonderfully with it, like you're loved, I love you, like super, super nice. And I believe it's because I kind of like trained it to be there. And like it's kind of like me talking to myself and being kind to myself. But yeah, that book was the spark of everything. That book kind of sparked this whole like personal development journey, and like also showed me that there's self-help books out there, because before that I didn't even know they existed. I didn't know that there was anything you could do. I thought like the world was just shit. And I think that's also like, you know, when I was a kid, I mean, part of it was like the whole personal surroundings part that was very depressing, and then the other part was also like with all the shit that was going on in the world, like wars, and I was very focused on all the negative things because, well, media and news mostly show you that. And also the books I was reading, gosh, I would read books about like starving children in Africa, and I don't know, I was definitely consuming the wrong things. I even like looked into Satanism for a while, because it was like, if the world is so shitty, I might as well like worship it or whatever. But I didn't like it, so I was like, okay, no, this is too dark. But the good thing is, like, when I was suicidal, I got angry. Because at the same time I wanted to kill myself, and then I got, in that moment when I wanted to do it, I was like, got really angry, because I was like, holy fucking shit, I'm 7 years old. I just got to this fucking planet. Like, it can't be that a 7-fucking-year-old kid already wants to, like, unalive itself and leave this planet again. It, like, and I got so angry, and I was like, you know what? Fuck society, fuck the rules. I'm just gonna do whatever brings me the most fun, and if that doesn't work, I can still unalive myself, like, later in time. So I kind of, like, just, you know, pushed it ahead. At that moment, that was the best thing I could do. And that anger kept me alive. That's why when I meet men and they're like, oh, I have anger issues, I'm like, anger is great, because anger can be the motivator to show you A, what's going wrong, B, motivate you to change something. It's a motivator for change. So when people say like, oh, sadness is a shitty feeling and it's useless, it's not. Like, all the feelings have a valid point. They show you that something is wrong, and then they either make you think about it, or they, like anger, motivate you to do something. So, like, yeah, they all have its purpose, and, like, anger kept me alive. Because I was like, I'm gonna refuse to give in to this shitty world, and that got this whole thing, like, it was enough resistance to keep me going, and then I found the book, and that showed me, ooh, I actually don't have to be that, I can actually improve myself. And then I recorded myself and wrote it down like obsessively. But to be fair, at the time I was like, either that or I'm gonna kill myself. Yeah. So I would obsessively write it down and listen to it for years. And at the time I also got bullied in school, so that did not really help, because I was also like actively seeking for like mistakes in myself that I could improve on, because now that I knew that I could improve, I was like, okay, how can I improve? Like, what can I improve? And that also didn't really help with like the depressive episodes, because it was kind of like, okay, everyone around me is telling me that everything I do is shit. So that's a hard pill to swallow. And then also, yeah, behaviors of other people around me. So that didn't really help, but it got better with time due to me self-programming. And I think it took like 3 years.
3 years is a long time if you were going through an extremely traumatic episode, but you can do it. And there's other measures that can help you get through that time to then achieve this awesome self-programming. I've done it myself, Kristina's done it, and I know a lot of other people that have also done it. It's extremely powerful and it's fully legitimate. It's just telling yourself what you need to know over and over and over and affirming it within your brain, and it does just work. It's insane. So when you are in these times of struggles where you are extremely emotional, try and separate from them and use them as pointers to show you where to improve, what you need to change in your life, and it becomes a really powerful tool, and you gain a lot of self-power and self-confidence in the fact that the outside world doesn't control you and that you can simply use it to guide your life. Of course, this is a long period of time to wait. As you heard from Kristina, it takes up to 3 years for some people, and that can be a bit daunting, but I promise you, as soon as you start, you will see little changes and little hints that you're improving. The only thing and the hardest thing you'll have to do is start. So tonight, just before you're going to bed, whatever you're struggling with at the moment, whatever limiting belief you're telling yourself, whatever insecurity you have, just tell yourself the opposite. tell yourself what will make you feel happy. And comfort is not happiness. Don't just sit with the negativity because it's familiar and it brings you comfort. Push yourself to feel happy because it will change your life. And the chatter and gossip from other people should never, ever, ever matter. And to fully concrete that belief into yourself, you can't just be telling yourself what will make you happy. You have to focus on the things that back that up. You have to give yourself evidence that supports what you're trying to convince yourself of. I had an insecurity for the first part of my life, thinking that I was very, very boring, that I couldn't hold a conversation with anyone. And one day, a switch just flipped in me and I started telling myself I wasn't, but I was also looking back at all the events in which I had kept a conversation going and I was interesting, and now I don't feel that insecurity ever. So self-confidence isn't enough. You need to have evidence to back it up. Your mind is logical, so you need to give it something to grasp to.
So I also could choose to go to art school then, and then it was not like this public school system that I was in before where you're forced to learn whatever they feed you, but then it was like, oh, you can choose your courses in art school, you can choose what kind of things you want to learn, and I just took there was a lot of cool things. Wow. And I did all of them because I was like, oh yes, there's a buffet of cool things I can try. So that was really, really cool. I also made a lot of great friends there, and then after I traveled a lot and then I studied photography and design, I realized that I'm not learning shit there because I did learn stuff, but the thing is I realized photography is art and all they do is kind of judge you what you make. You make something and then the professors will judge you and they kind of give you tasks today we're gonna photograph a series of trees, for example. But it was not enough to keep me studying because I was I thought it would be much smarter to start your own business while I still while I'm still in the student age, because you get you get things a lot cheaper. So I thought okay, you know what? Fuck university. I'm gonna focus on starting businesses, and a lot of them failed. A lot of them failed. I mean, I started a blog, an online shop. I wanted to start a sausage business. I had an investor and everything, but it failed because we didn't get the right permit. I had so many things that I tried and failed at, but I think it's a process, and I think it's good that I started. And I really, really didn't ever really need my degree anyway, because I worked as a photographer, but not because of my degree. I worked because people booked me due to the portfolio I already had and the art I already was displaying. And that was actually nothing that I really learned at university. I was luckily always optimistic enough that I was I will find a job in no time.
Yeah.
I will find something. I'm not afraid to do anything. So I was if worse comes to worse, I'm just gonna make money with my body, because I was willing to do whatever, but I'm not willing to settle for something that's shit. Yeah. So basically, to have that freedom is an awesome thing that you can be no, fuck this. This is shit.
I am fully on Kristina's side with this. I dropped out of uni, as you know. Bella has deferred from uni. Kristina went to uni but then didn't stay with it. It just isn't for a lot of people. And society pushes us towards that tertiary education, but for a lot of jobs and a lot of paths in life, you don't need that piece of paper. You might need to prove that you're competent in a skill, but that can come with time and experience and actual proof. So having that freedom to create that life that you want to live, whether that is going to an office each day or not working at all and climbing mountains and surviving off hitchhiking. It's whatever you want to do, and it doesn't always have to be the tertiary education path.
Oh yeah, I should probably say the book title.
Oh yes, and your name and stuff. So
hello audience, thanks for listening. My name is Kristina von der Heid, and I wrote the book When the Bookshelf is Mocking You. It's available on Amazon. I don't know if there's show notes. Is there show notes?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you just put it in the show notes. Thank you very much for inviting me. It was a pleasure to talk. I talked a lot. I thought you would talk a lot more.
I think I'm going to make this into 2 episodes.
Possibly. I don't even have this was
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 3
quite some
hours.
time. Holy shit. Okay, thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for listening. This was episode 3 with Kristina, but episode 7 in total. This is the second last episode of season 1. We have one more guest for the season, and then Bella comes on the show, and I'm so excited for her. Please, if you know a friend or a loved one that might need to hear this episode, send it to them. Not all of us are comfortable talking about our problems straight away, so this episode can prompt that and tell them that it's okay. And if you are listening to this, if this was sent to you by someone, it's okay. You can talk, there will be no judgment, and you got this. My media recommendation for this episode is a guy and an app called Curiosity Quench. His name is Jack Fricks, and he is making an amazing app to end doom scrolling on social media. Doom scrolling is the endless loop of dopamine gratification that we all fall into, and he's working to get us out of that by creating an awesome app that quenches your curiosity. You can dive into topics of anything, you can do projects on it, it gives you a timer to go into deep focus work. It's awesome. So thank you, Jack. All his stuff will be down in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to MetaLife. Go check out the Instagram. That has all the updates and details on future episodes and seasons. My name is Tate Donahue. This is the MetaLife podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next episode. I love you, and have a great week.